Hey, it's Greg here with MaritimeGardening.com, and I'm picking some potatoes today, and I thought I'd show a few tips on picking potatoes, things I've picked up over the years that people that are new to growing potatoes might find interesting. So, number one is that there's lots of different tools you can use to dig potatoes, and of course you can just dig them with your hands. But most garden tools are metal, and I have found that they tend to damage the potatoes and nick them, that sort of thing. Now, if they're potatoes you're going to use right away, that doesn't matter so much. But I grow a lot of potatoes and I have to store them. And of course, if you've got a potato you're putting in storage, you want it to be undamaged so that it's not compromised anyway and it'll keep for a long time. So I've found using this kind of medieval looking thing, it's a wooden tool, right? So you just got a pointy thing coming out of here and some sort of handle. Old shovel handle, old broom handle, old, I don't know what this came from. I think it was an axe handle or sledgehammer handle. I just drilled a hole through the middle and stuck a little pointy thing through and glued it in place. You'll love this, very Canadian hockey stick. I think it's a coho. And I cut a slot down the center and just slid this piece in and then glued another piece of wood on top. There's 1,000 ways you can do this. I suppose if you were lucky enough you could find a branch that's got a little pointy bend to it, and that would be fine too. But I find something like this is better than a metal tool because it's less likely to damage the potatoes. So here we got a garden bed. You can see the soil's bare here. This is potatoes I've dug, and here it's all mulched and left untouched. Here's an old potato plant right here. So these are the potatoes that need to be picked. All right. So here's where one was. I can't remember what pattern I planted it in. I probably planted them in twos, going all the way down the length of it. So I normally just pull the thing up. There's a potato, and then just start digging, right? And I mean, you don't want to leave your potatoes in the ground too long because they'll start to get, if there's any risk of scab, like mine had this particular variety, I think it's called Superior, which is superior in some ways in terms of flavor, but it is not superior in terms of scab resistance, because you can see it's got some scab there. And there's variability. This one has no scab. This one has all kinds of scab. I don't understand why some get it and some don't, but that's just the way it is. Anyway, here I just nicked this with this here thing. It just slightly damaged the skin, right? So I find this kind of digging tool is better. So I just pull the mulch away from the section where I'm going to be digging, right? And then I just start working with the tool. Digging the potatoes. All right. So with this tool, you might graze the odd potato, but you're not going to damage it nearly as bad as if you'd used something metal. And I've found over the years, it doesn't affect what little damage something like this does to the potato does not compromise their storage, their capacity for storage. All right, so that's the system. I just do a section like that and then work my way down, work my way across. Now, once you've done that, you're not really done. Let me show you what I have to do next after you've done a section like this. Now, this can all be done by hand, but if you're going to get serious about potatoes and grow a lot of them, and if you have a lot of space, I recommend growing a lot of potatoes, unless you don't like potatoes, is you get a pitchfork like this. Okay, now, I could start digging immediately with the pitchfork, but I find finding everything I can with one of these tools is the best, because this will stick them and skewer them and damage some of them. So I like to pick as many as I can using the wooden tool with my hands. There's a nail. And then I go over the area with a pitchfork, because you're gonna find more potatoes. Look, there's some there, right? And using the pitchfork is more work. It also gives your soil a bit of a turnover. I mean, I like to do no-till gardening, but it does turn it over. There's no getting around this stage of growing potatoes. Okay, so I didn't miss too many of them. I just used the pitchfork to move that back like a rake. All right, so that's all you got to do. That's how you pick potatoes. I'm going to take you to another garden here and show you just how many potatoes might be missed by harvesting them only with a hand tool. Now here's a garden where I grew potatoes this gardening season. It's September now, and they've all been picked, but the ones in this bed were only picked using a hand tool. I had my son come out here a few days ago. He's almost 15, and I said, pick all the potatoes in this bed, and he used a hand tool. I came out yesterday with a pitchfork and just worked a little tiny section of the bed, and there were still some potatoes in it. So I'm going to go over the section of the bed he was picking potatoes to see how many potatoes, and this isn't to trash him. Even if I'd done this with a hand tool, I'd miss a bunch. That's the point. So how many potatoes were missed using just a hand tool, right? By a relatively novice gardener. See how many potatoes we can pull out of this section of the garden using the pitchfork. So here's the section I went over yesterday, and I pulled about 5 potatoes out of that. So now I'm just going to work my way across methodically using the pitchfork. Consistently tossing, there's some trash. Consistently tossing the stuff in the same direction. All right, nothing there. Good. This is a bit of work, yes. There's one little one. That's a good seed potato for next year. All right, we're doing good so far. Nothing there. Good. Probably might have no video here. This might be pointless. It's like you got everything. My son, when he wants to be, can be very meticulous. This might be one such case. There's one little one. Nothing really. These little ones like that, I mean, you can eat them, sure. Not finding much. Here's a decent one there. Big rocks. You don't really need. There's one. Nothing there. Oh, look at that one. Monster. There's a tiny one I don't care about. Another one. And we're not finding a ton here, but we are finding, well, there's a whole bunch in this corner here. Right, we are finding potatoes, right? And if I just leave these in the ground, I've noticed this year that chipmunks are eating my potatoes. The other day I picked a handful of them and just left them laying on top of the garden, only to find half of them missing and the other half all chewed up within a couple hours. So, yeah. Oh, look, there's more. Look at that. Now again, I fully expected if I'd done this with a hand tool, I would have missed a bunch as well. Right? That's why you go at it. Well, yeah, that's one. I guess if I was smart, I'd throw some seaweed or something on this before I started to work that in the soil. There's a lovely potato, russet. Also, if you see a potato coming out of the ground, it's good to, really work that section. If one was missed, you probably missed more than one. Oh, there's a nice one. Look at that one. A nice one. So, I mean, this garden had a good amount of potatoes pulled out of it. You guys saw one there. Yeah, right there. I have to say about these purple potatoes, they're kind of they're a nice potato and they're a good tasting potato, but they're very hard to find when you're digging potatoes. They're probably the hardest ones to find. And when you cook them, skins on, the skins turn brown. So they're sort of an ideal potato to sell in a market garden because they're so visually appealing. But from a culinary point of view, everything about them that's beautiful disappears the minute you cook them. Like there's a potato that's been chewed up. Something's been at it. So I guess we're sharing that one. We're almost done here. That's just about it. Oh, darn it. Look at that. See, this is why that pitchfork is not great. It just completely skewers them. This one has to be eaten right away. Okay, so we're done the area. What I have to do before I put these into storage is examine them all. And anyone that's damaged or has scab or is compromised in any way, I put those aside for immediate consumption. They go upstairs into the upstairs fridge. Everything else that's in good condition, I set aside for long-term storage. I've got lots of videos on how I do that. Alright, so now all I do with the pitchfork again is just, I'm still finding potatoes. There's another one. I just smooth the ground out. It's also a good, like, one last look. There's another one. Alright, just smooth her all out. Alright, so we got that all smoothed out, and while I was smoothing it out, I probably found about 8 or 9 more potatoes along the way. But the whole purpose of this video is just to show some tips on harvesting potatoes using wooden tools when you're doing the initial hand harvesting to minimize the damage to the potatoes, and then going over the whole area with something like a pitchfork. You could use a shovel for this, but you're going to slice a lot of potatoes in half with the shovel. You're still going to skewer a few with something like this, but I mean, nothing's perfect. Maybe the ideal thing would be some sort of wooden tool with maybe 3 tines. That would probably be ideal. Very medieval, but anyway, that's fine. Now all that's left to do is I have to put a mulch on top of this so it's all ready for next year. So when I'm driving to work someday this week or next week, I'll just look for people putting bags of leaves at the end of the driveway, because people are already getting leaves even though it's early September here. Once I've got this fully mulched, it's just ready for planting next year, all ready to go. So that's a few tips on planting potatoes. I hope you found that interesting. If you did, please like, share, subscribe, and until next time, get out there, get at it, have fun in your garden. Thanks for watching. Hey, if you want to help support everything I'm doing here, go to Vessies.com to buy whatever you need for your garden this year. And use my coupon code GAVS23 to get free shipping as long as there's a pack of seeds in the order and there's no oversized items in the order. Check out the description box of this video for details. You can buy everything you need from Vessies. They have seeds, fruit bushes and trees, soil amendments, pest solutions, tools, clothing, and lots of other stuff too. So yeah, if you want to help support everything I'm doing here and they sell something you need, buy it from them using my coupon code, and happy gardening.